Another good and I think an interesting question, maybe you've had this question too, here, whose prayers does he hear more? If God is listening to all of the prayers, which ones really does he listen to most? Uh, does and I've gotten this sometimes to me that people have come and they said, Matt, could you pray for this? And I'm certainly willing to join with anybody in prayer and lift those needs. Um, but when I might say to them, I remember an instance with a coworker, and told them you could pray too. They felt like, no, he probably hears your prayers. You're kind of that pastor, that spiritual guy. I don't think he listens to my prayers. So the question comes: does God hear some prayers more than others? Does he listen to some more? Um, Actually, the Bible almost Jesus, I think, is answering maybe this question. There's a great parable. I want to just share from it. It's in Luke chapter 18. And it says this in starting in verse 9. It says, Then Jesus told this story to some who had great confidence in their own righteousness and scorned everyone else. So catch us, he's talking to some people who were felt very good about themselves spiritually. They felt like they were doing really well, and they looked down on others who they didn't feel measured up to them. That's who he's talking to. And so he tells them this story. He says, Two men went to the temple to pray. One was a Pharisee, a religious leader at that time, and the other was a despised tax collector. The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed this prayer. Here's what the Pharisee says: I thank you, God, that I am not like other people, cheaters, sinners, adulterers, certainly not like that tax collector. I fast twice a week and I give you a tenth of my income. You get a sense of how he's praying. Jesus goes on with the story. But the tax collector, he says, stood at a distance and dared not even lift his eyes to heaven as he prayed. Instead, he beat his chest in sorrow, saying, O God, be merciful to me, for I am a sinner. I tell you, Jesus says, this sinner, not the Pharisee, returned home justified before God. For those who will exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted, he says. Does God listen to some people, not based on more than others, not based on rank, not based on some of the things we would look at, not based on education, not based on a position in the church even, not based on wealth or any of those things, social status. Those aren't the things. But what does make a difference in the prayers that God hears is the heart that we come with. Do we come proud and say, God, look at me. I want everyone to see how good I am. Or do we come and say, I desperately need you, Father. I'm a sinner. I have messed up. I need your help. In that humble sort of way, seems to really make a difference. Jesus used that example to say, the one who beat his chest in sorrow, the one who was known maybe as a sinner, that one is the one that God heard that day. James, in the book of James, he talks about this a little bit as well. Important maybe to catch this. He says, if you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you if you're asking. What a great thing to be thankful for. God does not rebuke us or send us away when we come asking for help. He invites us. If you need wisdom, ask our generous God. You need help, you need guidance, you're not sure what to do, come. He's not going to send you away. He's not going to make you feel bad. He wants to help you. But he goes on. This is James chapter 1 now, verse 6. He says, but when you ask, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty is as unsettled as a wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Such people should not expect to receive anything from their Lord. Their loyalty is divided between God and the world, and they're unstable in everything they do. So again, not by position, not by other external things does God listen to some more than others, but if we come and we're praying, and I really want this from you, God, but I'm also loyal over here to the world or to myself or to these other things, and God says that's not the prayer of faith. That's not the one coming and really putting ourselves before the Lord. His needing our Father. It's almost as if we had two fathers. I'll take you, God, as my father, and of course I'm going to have a father over there that I can go to for those other desires. He says that kind of divided loyalty, we really shouldn't expect that we'll receive anything from the Lord. Our prayers, when we come to him, he loves to give to us, but when we come, it needs to be to him, surrendered to him alone, not split in our loyalty. So maybe that's helpful. When whose prayers does God listen to more, or does he hear more? It is not an external thing, not a education thing, not a position thing. It is a heart thing. He listens to the hearts that humbly come to their Father, recognizing their need and calling out to him.